Jessica Lauren. I am the owner and founder of Rising with Jess. I am a doula, childbirth educator, and intuitive reader. And so I have founded my business to build community in with womanhood and sisterhood, kind of like we're doing now.
Come across like astrology?
So I've been looking at astrology since like the 4th grade.
Yeah.
You know, when you look in the papers, it's like back in the day, you look in the newspaper or the magazines and you see the daily horoscope. So I remember 4th grade specifically, like I would get my grandpa's newspapers and look at, not every day, but just here and there out of boredom. But I got super into it more when I learned that you're more than just your sun sign. So your sun sign is basically the day you were born on. It's where the sun was when you were born, and it's basically what we'll identify. Like I'm a Libra, you're a Gemini based on your chart. And so there's moon sign, there's your rising. So your rising or your ascendant is basically what the outer, like the people see when they look at you. Your moon is kind of innately who you are. It's that inner person in you that you may not show people as much. So when I started learning about that, all the different houses, like there's houses that represent this, there's a lot, like a whole lot. So I'm definitely not an astrologer because there's so much to learn, but I definitely have learned how to apply it to my life and understanding myself through astrology. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't like Libras.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
They say they lie, and when I tell you it's not me, because I can't keep for one, I can't remember a lie.
Yeah.
You know, and then two, like I get the guiltiest conscience.
Yeah.
So I mean, everybody tells like a little white lie here and there, like, oh, you know, like if they like you don't want to go anywhere, and you be like, oh, you know, I'm just I have something
to make an excuse.
Yeah. So, but I guess for me, I can kind of see it in Libra men. Like I do not like Libra men. I will say that.
So there's like a difference between like the women and the men and their signs.
And one thing I don't like to do is categorize all the signs, because each person, there's different aspects and different evolutions and different layers. When you do that and you're like, oh, I hate all Scorpios, because a lot of people don't like Scorpios either.
Yeah, or Geminis. Like a lot of people don't freaking like Geminis. Whenever I tell somebody that I'm a Gemini, they're like, oh my God.
Because it's like, it's two of you. But if you think about it, so in astrology, there's 12 houses. So there's like 10 to 12 people in there in us. And so.
Wait, so like.
Or personalities.
It's like with Geminis, right? Because there's like 2 people or whatever. Mm-hmm. Way how I act with, like, let's say with one person, I acted a different way with another person. I guess the way how they are, so like I just go through like their vibe or whatever.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I mean, no, that makes sense. I feel like a lot of us do that, but Geminis probably are y'all are probably better at it, you know, because you can turn it on, turn it off. Like you have that two-sided, I used to call it type A, type B personality.
When you say that, it makes sense, because I'm like, it's like going through my mind now, and it's like, okay, that does make sense.
But if you think about it, you adjust your personality and yourself with whoever you meet.
There you go. Yeah, that's the word that I was.
And, you know, some people are good about just showing up and being who they are, like no matter what. But there's certain places and spaces, like if you walk into a room, you're going to fill it out and you're going to be like, okay, I might, you know, kind of be more reserved, or I might be super extroverted. It just depends.
How long have you been doing this for? Or what year did you start?
So when I really started diving into it, it was around 2017, 2018. I remember going through a breakup. I can't necessarily pinpoint a moment or time or something that really led me into like discovering that there's more signs out there versus my sun sign. But I remember at that point I was going through a breakup. I was getting ready to enter my Saturn return. Your Saturn return happens from 28 to 30. And this is when you feel like everything is hitting you at once.
Yeah.
It's the pivotal point where you are truly stepping into adulthood and you're trying to figure out I don't know if you've heard, like a lot of people will say 30 is where they really just feel like almost like an aha moment or a sense of relief, because in your 20s, you're just all over the place. You don't know like who you want to be, where you want to be, what you want to do. And you just have all this pressure. At least I know I
Yeah,
have.
I feel the same way too.
And
Yeah.
so, okay, so for instance, around 23, I felt like I was super depressed, and it's because we go through a particular transit, and I can't remember the transit, but everyone I know at age 23 can relate.
Yeah.
And so I try to remember that, especially when I'm talking to younger people, like my little sister. She may be speaking of something that seems very small, but I have to remember, like, okay, she's going through this transit where it just feels like at any moment, like her world can come crashing down with the
Yeah.
littlest thing. And so, but with the Saturn is like your teacher, your father, and it hits you on like the real hard life lessons on what you're going through, or what you need to go through in this life. It made me realize, or kind of highlight like my purpose and the things that I needed to heal.
Yeah.
Which, for instance, healing my father wound. And it also brought up stuff that made me realize, like, okay, maybe it's deeper than my father. Like, it's not all my father.
Just, yeah.
You know, he is maybe the trigger,
Yeah.
but I also try to tell people our parents are human.
Yeah.
They're going through this life for the first time, just like we are.
Yeah.
And, you can't put all the blame, but definitely a major trigger. So as I started going more and more through the signs and realizing, like, okay, this all makes sense, and tying it all together, I even started looking at like different people. Like, I would ask people, like, what's your sign?
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Trying to compare.
and just kind of study people. And my background is psychology, so
Oh, nice.
that also ties into it. Like, so I kind of like to mix spirituality, astrology, psychology, all in one.
So, when you say that, like astrology helped you with like the trauma with your father and
Mhm.
stuff, like how did it help you with it?
So, again, like, I probably can't deep dive into everything, but there's different layers in your birth chart. So so I'll start there. So when you look at your birth chart, so you're gonna find, what time you were born, obviously the date and the location. And you can enter all this information in on like astro.com,
Yeah.
and it'll break down everything. There's apps and everything, but I specifically like astro.com because it seems to be the most accurate. Um, it'll tell you like all the planets. So Venus, Mars, your sun, your moon, everything. And one of the things was there's Chiron, and then there is your north node and your south node. So your north node basically tells you your life lesson, what you've come here to heal. And your Chiron is like your wounded healer. So my Chiron is in Leo,
Okay.
and it's Leo. If you know a Leo, they're very.
My mom's a Leo.
So they are very much, like big energy,
Yeah.
fire energy. I don't want to say boastful, but yeah, like
Yeah.
So if you met one Leo, you met them all. So they're very sure of themselves. They're very confident, and that's a good quality to have. But
Yeah.
it's something that I was avoiding. Like, my Leo, or my Chiron in Leo, basically tells me that I need to be seen. I need to be like showing my gifts, my talents, and I'm just like, no, like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Especially with that Aquarius moon, I'm just like, I just want to like be like recluse and like shut off to the world, read my books, do my
Do
thing.
your own thing. Yeah.
So that's something. The Capricorn, and Capricorn is like kind of like grandfather energy too, father energy. It basically it's all coming to make sense now, especially like career wise. Like
Yeah.
I have been avoiding teaching because I'm actually a teacher
Yeah.
by day. So I've been avoiding teaching for such a long time, but now like I'm 32, and so even when I was reading something about it, it was saying that basically you won't really get settled into your career until like 35 or something like that, because it takes me like going through all these lessons and really defining who I am and kind of transmuting
Yeah.
that trauma and avoidance
Yeah.
of, responsibility and everything, and making it to where I am the true leader that I am, like
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be. Because even so, another thing I look at is numerology. So when you look at your birth date and you add all the numbers together, you get one number and it tells you your numerology. I'm numerology 1. I am known as a leader, and you look at all these like celebrities and stuff who have it. I'm like, dang, like these are like some great people.
Oh
But
wow.
I wasn't acting like it,
Yeah.
and it's because I still was letting childhood wounds and just inner child things that I hadn't healed stop me
Yeah.
from showing up. And so like all of this, it ties in together, and like really kind of just shows you like, okay, like this is the path that I'm supposed to be on. No, on my birthday, I was kind of like, I like almost had another aha moment. Like this is me. Like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah.
I'm not too much in the past. I'm not too much in the future. Of course, I'm making plans for the future, but I'm not where I was in the past, where I was just so desperately thinking about the future and where I need to be, what I need to be doing. Everything's just kind of coming into place, and everything's kind of like the pieces are coming together.
With your business, so do you read astrology to
Yes.
people?
So my website launches 11/11. I felt like that was a good day to
Nice,
launch.
yeah.
So I will be offering postpartum doula services for moms in the area. I do virtual as well because, again, like my platform, I want it to be community, and that's all around the world because I've met so many beautiful women
Yeah.
through social media, and I have so many friendships and sisterhood that I've developed. So I do virtual service. I will be offering childbirth education courses. Those will be in person and online on demand. And then I will be doing the astrology readings. That's also will be offered to my moms who want it, who've just had their babies. And even if they want it for themselves, they may be like, okay, like I need to know who I am and
Yeah.
how I can compare myself, how my chart compares to my child and how I can better raise them. So it's just a tool. And then, so of course, I will be doing the oracle. I use a lot of oracle cards. Most people know tarot,
Yeah.
but I actually prefer oracle. I sometimes read tarot, um, but I call it intuitive readings because a lot of people just kind of always automatically think tarot.
Yeah.
It's similar, but for me, anyone can read tarot. So it's just like astrology. You can go, you can study it, and you can learn it. But like there's numerology in it, but with oracle cards, I just use them as a guide because I am naturally intuitive. And that was another thing I was fighting, going through my Saturn return through 28 and 30. I will say later towards 30, or getting closer to 30, I kind of accepted it more. But like I've always been clairvoyant, intuitive, and I think that had a lot. Like I was a deep feeler.
Mm-hmm.
Most people say empath. I actually
Yeah.
try not to identify as an empath
So-
because
Sorry to
No, you're
interrupt you,
fine.
but what's the difference between being intuitive and being an empath?
So intuitive is it is basically like being psychic, but it is still feeling. Like for instance, like I'm more of a feeler. I can feel it in my gut. A lot of women are like that. You know, they always say women's intuition.
Yeah.
Everybody's intuitive. However, some people fight it, like I was. They fight it and they don't develop it. Or somebody, like a parent, may shun them of it. I've seen many like psychic people who've had the ability since they were little kids, and their parents like are scared of it, so they kind of just close off and they ball it off, and they just
brush it off.
And they never actually tap back into it. So for me, but with being an empath, is like you're taking on everybody's feelings and taking on. I can't do that. Like, and so that's
you can.
I can't. Like, so people will. I've heard people say like, "Oh, I'm an empath. I'm an empath." Like it's a good thing.
Yeah.
It's actually, for me, it's not, because you're literally taking on everybody's stuff.
Yeah.
And you're weighing yourself down. Because, for instance, the most relationships you'll see a narcissist and an empath.
Yeah.
And that empath is just feeding the narcissist, and the narcissist is manipulating the empath. Right?
Yeah.
And so, and I'll get back to that too, because empaths can actually be narcissists too.
Yeah.
And people don't look at it like that, but they can just take on everybody's stuff. They're always drained because they're taking on everybody's stuff. They're not releasing it. So I kind of identify as a retired empath because that's something I was doing.
So at one point, you stopped doing that?
Yeah. So, because you're technically empathizing. Like, yes, I can empathize with you, but I'm not gonna take on your emotions.
How do you do that? Because
so a lot of grounding, a lot of meditation, boundaries, you know, heavy on the boundaries. And that even goes as far as like setting them with your own parents, you know, especially family. Family is the hardest. They're the hardest people to set boundaries with.
Yeah.
So hard. And so I just kind of got to a point where I was just tired of always being emotional, and I was in a really bad relationship, and that's where it really highlighted it for me, because I was definitely dating a narcissist. Yeah. And so, and then that also had to do with like my father wound, because I was looking to heal that wound so much that I attracted this person who is very similar to my father, and it wasn't healthy at all. It was very toxic. And once I started to see that and identify with it, and identify what it was, and realize like, oh, I'm just taking on all of his crap. Like he's just dishing on all of his crap to me, and also manipulating me because, oh, I'm so empathic, I'm so vulnerable, I'm so like it's almost like you can try to make it seem like this great person because you take on all of the stuff like a martyr, like, and it's not good, it's not healthy.
Yeah.
You know,
so you know, I do nails for a living, right?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
But so I see about 8 to 10 people a day, sometimes 12, and like the more my clients tell me like how empathetic I am, beginning, like I didn't really understand.
Yeah.
But like whenever they explain to me or describe to me like what I'm doing or whatever, or like taking in their, I guess, their emotions and their problems and stuff, it's so hard. Like I literally have to like, I don't know how to like release it. I mean, I do like talk to a therapist or whatever, but I'm also like that kind of person. Like, you know, when somebody like trauma dumps on you, and then you find another person to trauma dump, you feel bad because now they have to deal with that.
Yes.
And then they got to talk to another person to dump all that stuff that you just told them.
And
so
you said it perfectly. Like, it's trauma dumping. Yeah. And so even with my friendships, I have established some really good, healthy friendships where we can call each other and be like, hey, can you listen to this? Yeah. Can you take this on today? Because I have something heavy that I need to share. Yeah. And they may just want to vent. But we have the option to say, no, I can't. I'm not in the space to take this on.
But see, when like...
And so for you,
it's hard because like they just... Okay, so they sit down. Oh, They sit in my chair and we just talk about everything. And
And
like,
you're
you know,
touching them.
yeah. And like, yeah, it's weird.
It's energy.
Yeah. So like I know when my clients are not having a good day.
Mm-hmm.
I know when they're having a good day. I know when something exciting is happening. It's weird. Like how do you
So you would be somebody that's highly sensitive, and you're highly sensitive to energy
Yeah.
and intuitive. And like I said, there's so many people who they just think like, oh, like when somebody says they're psychic or they're a medium,
Yeah.
they think like, oh, they're up here next to God. And it's like, no, like you have the ability too, but you may think like, oh, it's just a coincidence,
Yeah.
or you just kind of just walk away from it because it's just not something. Some people just aren't interested.
Lady, she booked an appointment or whatever, and she said that she was just drawn to me, you know? And like she was telling me all these stuff, and then, you know, I didn't tell her like what my birthday was and all this and all that stuff, and I'm just like, ugh, like I don't want to hear that, you know, because it's like kind of, I don't know, for some reason, like I don't want to, because when somebody tells you like, oh, this is what's gonna happen to your future, like
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna, I feel like your brain is already like set on that, and
Mm-hmm.
like you're trying to make it happen
Yep.
or not make it happen, and then like I feel like it just messes up or whatever.
Yeah.
But is that like the same as being like intuitive or
Some people who are gifted, they don't know how to use their gift in an ethical, integral way, like have integrity. Um, they like sometimes you have to, even if you're being told something, you have to be sure that that person is open to receive,
yeah,
because there's no point in telling them if they're not open to receive.
yeah,
And so that's why when I do readings for people, I ask them like, are you open to receive? Can I work? Do I have permission to work with you
that's really
and
nice.
your higher self? Because some people aren't ready.
Yeah, and I feel like it should be normalized to be like, can I tell you this information? Or like, you
Mm-hmm.
know, sometimes it's like they just tell you, and like with me, if it's like, for example, if a client tells me like something very traumatic and I'm not like ready to hear it, because I know I'm like just gonna keep, you know, thinking about it and thinking about like what
Yeah.
they were feeling in that situation or how they're feeling and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I try to distract them or be like, oh, let me get something from the
Yeah.
back, and then when I come back, I talk about
Something else.
something else, like try to get
Yeah.
off
So
topic.
anyone, like especially you, like hairdressers, any type of service work, unfortunately, you guys are the ones that
Yeah.
people come and they dump to. Like
Yeah.
y'all are the next therapists,
Yeah. But I also like it because at the end of the day, they're like, oh, I just feel so
They
good.
feel better. Mm-hmm.
Like, thank you for this. Like, I got my nails done. It looks beautiful. And also, like, I feel better inside. So I'm just like, all right.
But sometimes on the days where you don't feel better, it is because they dumped all of that trauma
Yeah.
onto you.
Yeah.
And then, so that's when you have to have your own like grounding practices. Some people use crystals, some people meditate, some people use Florida water, like especially for you, like you're touching hands,
Yeah.
like it's just like a cleansing tool. Say sage, Palo Santos. I actually don't recommend people use too much of sage or Palo Santos because it's actually becoming extinct, because there was this big wave of spirituality. So people who are not even indigenous or know a lot about the practice and using it as like it's almost ceremonial and sacred. They just burn it, and they
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah. Because they
But
say sage it, you know, you get
yeah,
rid of
and
the
so
negativity, but they don't
and
really
some
know.
people, yeah, and people have marketed, like I used to sell it and I stopped because I realized I was like, this isn't, it didn't
They're
resonate.
not like using it for the right purposes. Is that what
Well,
it is?
and they just don't have the true intention behind it, or understand the sacredness. And then I realized like there was an extinction of, like it's becoming extinct because um people are just harvesting it, to sell because they know it's like the next trendy thing. So there's other things like frankincense and myrrh, resin, um, that I actually love the smell of.
Yeah.
There's different things that you can do, and I'll definitely get with you and like give you a little list of things you can do to ground yourself in between clients or even at the end of the day, because that's very important, especially like I said, you're touching their hands, like so you're in direct contact of like their energy, and then just like for someone, and then even like pedicures,
Yeah.
and for someone like who is a hairdresser, like you're touching somebody's crown. And it's just a lot of energy that comes and flows to you. The way I describe energy to people who don't understand it is when you walk into a room, you either sometimes you feel welcome, you feel nice, you feel calm, or if you go somewhere where it's the opposite and you're not wanted, you're just like, oof. Or you just walked into someone's house after an argument, you feel the tension in the energy in the air. That's energy, and we all have it.
Yeah. Is there like people that don't feel energy? Is that a thing?
I would say people numb themselves.
Yeah.
Like when you see a lot of addiction, they're numbing. A lot of those people are highly sensitive to energy and are psychic, and they're numbing it.
That's a whole week, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody is just in a good mood. Mm-hmm. Everybody's happy, and then the next week is like everybody's like just trash and emotional, and just so much things that's going on. Is it just
it's a collective energy. It's also has to do with the transits. Like right now, we just had a full moon eclipse, the lunar eclipse in Taurus. So a lot of people may felt like they were releasing. A lot of people maybe felt emotional.
Yeah.
It's still, the energy still lingers. Anytime there's a full moon, I always count like 3 days before, 3 days after. It just depends on when it hits you, what your chart looks like. Yeah. For me, I was tired. Like I told you, like this morning I was like, oof, like. But yesterday, I was so tired. Really? I didn't feel emotional or anything, but my body was so tired. Now there was another eclipse right before this one, and it was around my birthday, and I felt more emotional with that one. Yeah. Not like teary or anything, but like just very like just kind of wanting to shut off and recluse. And so it's very interesting because sometimes certain transits can affect us emotionally. Sometimes they can make us feel like happy and vibrant. It just depends on where the moon is and where the sun is. Right now, like Mercury, for instance, everybody talks about Mercury retrograde. They don't know what it is.
I don't know what that is.
And so, but they'll be like, Mercury's in retrograde. So Mercury is the plane of communication.
Okay.
And a lot of times when Mercury is in retrograde, it affects us really highly on how we communicate, obviously, but contracts. They always say to be careful signing contracts, like really, really look over it before you sign it, because sometimes there will be mistakes or, something that may not benefit you, because when it's in retrograde, it's almost appearing that the planet is going backwards. And so everything's just kind of off. Yeah. And so contracts and technology, like you'll see more people have car accidents. You'll see more people have car issues, just little things like that. And some people, they'll just feel off, like, and they're like, what's going on? Especially if they have a lot of planets that are in Mercury. For instance, I was born on a Mercury day, Wednesday. So that's another thing, like days of the week, they all each have planets. Yeah. And a lot of people don't know that, like Monday, moon day, Sunday, the sun.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's that's why I say it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's more, it's more to it that I can say in one,
one sitting. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm excited because like we were talking about like the charts and stuff. So do you have like my stuff? Yeah. Like, are you able to
look it up?
Okay, wait, what is like, what will you be doing or like, I guess, reading? And
so right now, I chart. So like you said, you're a Gemini.
Yes.
That's your sun sign. Your moon is in Pisces.
What is that?
Also attributes to you being very empathetic. and very sensitive to energy and intuitive. Most Pisces, they have like a dreamy feel to them, and they're naturally intuitive.
Yeah. Sorry, my
Um,
son and my husband are Pisces. Yeah, they're
really,
very. They're
and they
such.
can
They're
be,
big people, but they're such like teddy
yeah.
bears.
And I was gonna say a lot of people paint them as emotional.
Very emotional.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It
Yeah.
just means that they feel and they feel deeply.
Yeah.
But sometimes, like I pointed out, when we are big feelers, we have to learn how to ground it. We have to learn how not to internalize, because that happens a lot. We internalize, and then when we do that, sometimes we either explode, whether it's through anger, whether it's through tears, or, some type of, unhealthy way,
Yeah.
So that's why we have to learn to just check in with our emotions. So then you have your Venus. You have Mercury and Venus in Taurus. Like Mercury is how you communicate. Taurus, y'all are naturally grounded. So when you're communicating, people, that's probably another reason people like talking to you.
Yeah. People. You know what? It's crazy, cause every time. So, like for example, right? I get a new client. They open up so quickly, and they'll be like, "I'm gonna tell you my deep darkest secret." Like, okay, yeah, I just met you
That
5
happens to me
minutes
all the time.
ago. But so is it because of my energy?
Yeah. So
I'm learning about
you could be
myself today
Yeah,
a lot.
you could literally be out in a bar. Like this happens to me all the time. Like I could be in a coffee shop
Yeah.
and there are other people around, but somebody's gonna come to me versus them.
Yeah.
And you're like, why? But it's because they can feel your energy.
Yeah.
They
It's
don't
like
know.
inviting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
yeah.
don't they may not necessarily know. They don't know why, but for some reason they gravitated to you.
Yeah.
For instance, sometimes when I do go out, I try to shut off my inviting energy.
How do you do that?
Especially like, if I'm alone and I'm like, at the gas station with a bunch of men, like I'm going to shut that off. I can't necessarily explain how I do it, but I definitely I'm not always I make sure like I'm not the rainbows and butterflies that I typically am. Like I'm not inviting. So
So do you have like just a RBF?
yeah. And so you just kind of like, I don't know, there's like a switch and I just turn it off.
Damn, I need to learn how to do that.
And maybe I need to, that's something I can try to like learn how to explain, put into words, but just get that energy of like, almost like you get into your masculine, like
Yeah.
you get into your masculine energy and like, no, like I'm not to be messed with.
Yeah.
So yeah, but obviously you work in service, so you're open and they feel that. You have the Venus and Taurus. So Taurus is naturally like in Venus. So you're probably like a really good I don't want to say lover because that sounds sexual, but like you innately love and you have a loving aura about you. And Taurus again are like really grounded. They they're really good homemakers. So I don't know if you cook a lot.
Homemakers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
know if you like to cook.
Yeah, I like to cook, but I don't like to clean.
And so that
I'm
is
very
so
messy.
funny because Taurus are messy.
Really?
They either are super messy
I'm super messy.
or they're super
I'm
like
very
into an
disorganized.
aesthetic. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny. You're definitely loyal. Like
Yeah.
Taurus are like the most loyal people
Unless
I
you
know.
do something to.
Of course you could be very stubborn. But yeah, just nurturing, like, and that's what it says on here without me even reading it.
Wow. Okay, so where's that at again? What website?
Well, I'm using the app Time Passages right now.
Time Passages,
And
okay.
so, it just shows everything. But the app the website that I always recommend is astro.com. or AstroSeek. There's a couple of them, but I think it's astro.com. So your Mars is in Aries. Aries is very fiery energy, and
Yeah.
Aries are like, they don't play. Like they know what they're about. And so your Mars is like when you fight.
Yeah.
So I don't know how you are when you do get mad, but
I'm bad.
it's probably, that's what I was going to say. It's probably bad.
It's really bad. Like, you can ask my kids, my husband.
So you have a Chiron in Leo too, like me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that?
So again, that's your wounded healer. Yours is probably, it may be different from mine based on where it is in your chart. And yours is in your 12th house, and so that's another thing. Like the houses are, they all represent something. Like the 8th house can represent like taxes and your partner and something else. 7th house is relationships. They all mean and symbolize something, but there's like different things. So of course I'll show you all of this. Like we'll do a like really in-depth reading because it's a lot. But it just like, again, the Leo is like has to do with like your expression. So right now, like you starting this podcast and being on camera is actually probably helping you heal your Leo, your Chiron and Leo, because again, Leos are like, here I am, accept me for what it is. Like if you don't, I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the energy that I'm having to tap into. It's like I'm okay with being seen, but after a while I'm like wanting to recluse, but I also sometimes I have the fear of being perceived.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, I don't want to put myself out there because I don't have time to deal with backlash.
Yeah.
But that Leo's like, what backlash?
Yeah.
I am who I am, you
so,
know?
Like, it's funny that you say that because, like, before I started this podcasting, like, I know there's going to be so many people that's going to be very judgmental. And, like, you know, people are going to see you as, like, what the hell? Why the hell is she even doing this? Like, It's so cringy.
You had Saturn in Aquarius, too. So you probably had a very similar, because we're basically the same age. So you probably
I'm
had
31.
had a similar experience to what I had. Like if we talked about going through our Saturn return, like between between the ages of 28 and 30, we probably went through some things, or you remember it being a hard time or a challenging time. So yeah. Do you want me to read your card?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So what's the difference between the card and the chart that you just?
So astrology is totally different from readings. So when I read, I'm channeling the energy of right now.
Okay.
Excuse me. But I'm also channeling maybe, like, depending on whatever spirit or God, whatever you want to call it, depending on whatever they want us to know, or want you to know, like whatever message comes forward, you know. So some people, which I hate, a lot of women, they'll focus so much on love.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I'll try to tell them or encourage them, like, let's focus on you, because until you can focus on you and what's going on inside of you, then we can work on attracting that proper love. that respectable, and not this toxic energy that you're trying to figure out, because that's usually what it is. Like when people are coming to you for romance readings, it's typically because they have somebody that isn't, ready.
Yeah.
And but there's also a reason you're attracting that person. So like, let's figure out what's going on with you. So typically I like to do like a general reading.
Okay.
This is, an oracle deck, so it's not tarot. Basically, you'll see, I'll show you. The oracle, it just kind of gives me a guide, because again, I can naturally like tell you things. Like that woman you said that just came to you and was like, da-da-da-da. Sometimes I can naturally do it, like if it comes to me. And I think that's the thing where I say the integrity plays a big part in people who do have the gift. Sometimes people will try to like show that they're powerful and they have this gift.
Yeah.
and they're like crossing people's boundaries. And so like sometimes like it just won't come for me, and that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, or there's people who have very strong energetic boundaries and they know how to like block you off and you can't, you know.
Like read them.
Yeah, I had a situation. My son was actually like that.
Really?
Yeah, he's very intuitive. He has the Pisces moon, Pisces rising, so he's very intuitive. I tried to get him to kind of, you know, work with my own energy healer, my life coach, my mentor, and guide. And when I tell you he was blocked off, he was blocked off. And it's good because
Wow.
he has that spiritual protection and that protection, but he just wasn't in that moment, he wasn't ready to open up. And so of course we didn't force him to, you know. It was just a thought that I had to make sure, like, you know, he had kind of experienced something that I felt like could affect him emotionally. So I wanted to check in, almost like a therapist. You know, I just wanted to check in, but I wanted to go a little deeper than some therapists go. But yeah, he was blocked off. And I've heard of that before, and I don't think I've had it happen to me yet, but I wouldn't be surprised, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah. All right, so we're gonna do a general reading for
Okay.
you. So usually, sometimes I will, you know, do the Palo, because I just basically still have like the stuff that I have. I don't use it a lot. The Palo or incense. Sometimes I just knock on the cards to reset the energy. And like I said, some people use crystals.
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're going to do a general reading for Jesslyn. So, and sometimes the cards just pop out. Sometimes they don't. And that one, as you can see, that one popped out.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I'll just do those three. All right. So you have discernment, which is choice, duality, and diligence. And you see the wolves.
Mm-hmm.
There's one that's white and black. And so for me, this is representing like shadow energy.
Okay.
Doing like inner shadow work. And then there's the moon, and then there's the flower. So for me, it is maybe having discernment around who you give your energy to, who you share with, who you open up to or let in. You have expansion, which is outer world, blossoming, and doing. I also like pair the cards together sometimes. So I'm connecting like the blossoming with the flower that's blossoming right there.
Okay.
And as you see, like she's, you know, walking towards something like a different path. So this could be an expansion of your business, or whatever creative projects you have. And then you have giving, receiving, harmony, and karma. This can be you pouring into your cup and people pouring back into you, and you pouring into other people. But you also have to make sure when you're pouring from a full cup. So this can be good karma, because some people, when they hear the word karma, they think
It's just
bad.
bad.
But no, this is giving good karma. And like it's almost like these are like offerings, like people are putting flowers at your feet.
Yeah.
So
That's pretty cool.
does that resonate?
Yeah.
There are a lot of people, they read for the collective. I like to do one-on-one. It's just something about having that relationship. But a lot of people, like, we're all going through the same thing. Like you said, you know, 1 week people are like high, like, you know, like happy, and in the next they're sad. So
Okay. So is there anything else you wanna share with us?
I always encourage people, don't dim your light. Don't be afraid to show up as who you are. That's a lesson that we're both learning.
Yes.
Obviously. Also, don't allow your fear to hinder your purpose. I always say that I've found purpose in my pain, And a lot of that pain was living in fear for a long time.
Yeah.
So don't allow your fear to block you from your blessings, blocking your gifts, because sometimes God will take away those gifts
Yeah.
that you continue to run away from. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy because I felt like I really needed to hear that because, like, putting yourself out there in public, it's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And like, yeah, with me starting this whole thing, like, it's been like almost a month now.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've posted 2 episodes,
Mm-hmm.
and like, there's like comments on there. Like, people would like just personally message me and be like, "Wow, that was such a great episode." Like, I went through like the same situation and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So like, I mean, I have a vision in my head on where this will be going, or like how it can grow, and like all this and all that. But like, I still have.
Your cards.
I know. It's crazy. It's like it's I don't know. I just feel so good about this new
Yeah.
new thing. No matter what, cuz like, I work a lot. I work
Mm-hmm. You
5
do.
to s-
I'm like, how do you do it?
I don't know too. But I work like 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes the whole freaking 7
Mm-hmm.
days. And like with like siblings or whatever, or like clients, friends or whatever, they'll be like, "Oh, when do you have time to even do this?"
Right.
I'm like, "I'm gonna make time because this is something that I
Mm-hmm.
want to, like, I just really want to grow it." And I
Yeah.
just feel, and I feel like I just really needed to hear that.
Yeah.
Or
And then
that's amazing.
remember, like I said, with that one card, to make sure you are taking the time to rest
Yes.
so that you can pour from overflow and
Yeah.
not, what you don't pour the last drop of what you have in your cup into somebody else. And
Yeah.
that's hard to do, especially when you're a mother and a wife and a
And
business owner.
Yeah. And with me, I'm still learning, and I'm
Mhm.
really with like, doing this stuff, like I have an extra thing on my
Yeah.
plate.
But it's
So,
good. Like you said,
yeah.
you want to share and you want to help people and show people in the world that they're not alone.
Yeah.
So, and you you are an energy worker. Like, I mean, you're working with people's energy every day.
Every day.
So, it makes sense.
With everybody that's listening, you'll be launching your website on 11/11, right?
Correct.
Okay. Where can they find you?
So,
or how can they contact you?
The best social media platform right now is Instagram at Rising with Jess. I will be sharing my launch day and pre-launch things. So I'll be giving everyone a snippet before 11/11. I'm also going to have it to where you can sign up for my email list and have kind of like an exclusive view. And I'll be having weekly blog posts and again the doula information, childbirth education information, and you'll have my booking to where you can schedule a card pull with me. For right now, I am doing just 3 card pulls where I'll just send you a pre-recorded message, but I will have the option to where, for instance, someone wants a more in-person or in-depth reading, they can reach out to me and book me that way.
I just want to say thank you so much for coming today and sharing your business.
Thank you for having me.